Good morning and welcome to India Today SoSouth with me, Sarah Fazil. Decades of fine-tuning and planning boils down to 17 minutes for India's Chandrayaan 3 moon mission. 17 minutes of terror is what ISRO's Space Application Center Director Nilesh Desai has called this mission. The landing process of Chandrayaan 2 was referred to as 15 minutes of terror by the then former ISRO chairman K. Sivan. But why are these minutes so terrifying? Well, this is exactly the time that the landing process of the mission actually takes to touch down on the surface of the moon. And in Chandrayaan 3's case, it's expected to begin at 5:47 p.m. this evening. Now this is very crucial because in these 2 hours, commands will be uploaded and will be sent to the lander. Let me explain to you about the lander. Now all the electronic and mechanical systems and the telemetry signals in these 2 hours are analyzed. They are examined, and based on the analysis of the results by ISRO, they take a call about the soft landing on the surface of the moon. Now, I don't want to get my facts wrong, so I'm going to give you accurate study about this. Now, 17 minutes of terror. Let me explain this concept to you as said by the director Nilesh Desai. He says that at 5:47 p.m. today, when we are 30 kilometers away from the surface of the moon, the velocity at that point is 1.68 kilometers per second, which is the highest. At this point, the moon's gravitational force comes into picture, and that's when the lander will start traveling down. Now, mind you, which is why we have thruster engines, and these thruster engines will then retrofire. Now, what is this concept of retrofiring? Let me explain it to you in layman's terms. Say, for example, you're riding a bike on high speed. You want to bring down the speed and stop. Retrofire acts like that special engine which basically gives a booster to your bike, right? It will bring down the speed of your bike and take you in the direction opposite to what you are going, right? And when it does this, by slowing down your speed, it will release fire and smoke backwards. That is what is called retrofire. Now let me explain to you how the descent will take place to touch on the surface of the moon. We have 4 thruster engines, right, on the lander module. Now, the first descent will take place from 30 kilometers to 7.5 to 6.8 kilometers. At this particular time, the 2 engines will be shut off. The lander module will then start descending. They will start going closer and closer to the surface of the moon. And at this point, the 2 engines will provide what is known as the reverse thrust. Now, as we are moving from 6.8 kilometers, the speed at that point of time is 350 meters per second. Finally, when we move from 6.8 kilometers to about 800 meters, the speed comes down to 0 meters per second, and at 150 meters, the vertical descent will start taking place to touch down to the surface of the moon. Imagine, I have explained the entire process to you, but when this finally happening, when we are going closer towards the surface of the moon, that's when all the sensors and cameras on this particular, spacecraft of ours will send inputs, okay, from the surface, compare it to the already existing image that we have and relay it back to the Earth, giving signals that we are all set to make the landing on the moon. This entire process from traveling from 30 kilometers to 7.5 to 6.8 to 800, 150, 30, 10 takes 17 minutes and 21 seconds. And let me tell you, it could take a little bit more longer to move closer, about 17 minutes and 32 seconds. Oof! Now this process does seem quite tedious and exhausting, which leaves no scope and possibility for any mistakes. Let me remind you, Chandrayaan 2's landing process crashed at the very minute when there were 15 minutes left on September 6th, 2019. And we don't want to commit that mistake this time, so the entire world waits with bated breath to see whether the 17 minutes and 21 seconds of terror will pass and India will create history of being the first country to land on the south side of the moon. That's all for now. I'm Sarah Fazil, reporting for India Today SoSouth.